Okay,
Pero
the positions have changed. I'm sorry if I'm sounding like a broken record, but I wanted to know how is Leo doing? How's Jordy? We didn't see him in the field in the pitch this morning. We want to know if they trained and how do you think that tomorrow that they're going to be doing? What are they going to, what's the lineup going to be? Can you tell us something? Thank you.
Por eso no lo hizo.
Well, they left when you left, actually. That's why you didn't see them. And we're hoping we'll wait until tomorrow, Michelle. Jordi, I don't think so. It's going to be difficult, but yeah, we'll wait to the last minute to see what decision we make. Hernan Perez for Taste Reports. In these types of decisions, when we are with the right things, Messi, then these decisions are made to know whether he'll play or not. We were to the pitch yesterday, and then he left. How are the decisions made? Just to understand this, because we don't really know how far Messi wants to be there or not. I'm sure he doesn't want to miss the final, but how are the decisions made, and especially this very important final? Well, undoubtedly, there are, players and players. In this case, yeah, I'll sit down with him and see what his sensations are, his feelings, and maybe there might be other players where we make the decision. You know, we always talk, but I really don't know if later on the resolution that we make is the one that we agree on. Perhaps tomorrow we'll get together and see what the best will be, because there are three things. One is the player, of course, then the final, and then what comes afterwards. So these are the three scenarios that we have to assess, and then of course, then we see a series of questions that happen that arise, and we stop talking from the game, and we start talking because we're talking about Leo, and so we have to try to make the decision. We have risks all the time. We have to lower that risk, of course. Yeah, I think that's correct. Yes. As a matter of fact, the finals here, and of course, the fact that we have to play it implies tremendous responsibility. And afterwards, I think that when we have a team that has a way of playing that is very well defined, if we follow the right possibilities, then we'll certainly win the match. Jose Rodriguez from Panama. So tomorrow you're going to have Alberto Carrilla and midfielder. And what do you think about him? He's going to be the great figure in this particular match as well. And well, he's one of the great figures and players. And what we have to see afterwards, where he will actually begin with the match, because he's a player that has been playing outside after the nine, and starting with a double contention as he does it with the selection, with the team, and so the manners that we have to control. I'm sure that we'll have to see the places on the pitch where he will have to actually start the game. Sergio in for that, I'm not in a center for the sport and the sport radio. A little while ago in a interview, he said in an interview that time goes by. So you had him in several of the stages. I wanted to ask you if you've noticed that, and what do you think about that? Yeah, the passage of time, you mean? Well, uh, okay. Well, in the almanac, that's the first place where we notice that. But yes, I think that we all mature in time, especially when very strong things happen in our professional lives and personal as well. In his case, many things have happened. We have to think that 8 years ago, he was in Barcelona competing at the very highest level and forming part of the very best teams in history, trying to attain, of course, the cup with the Argentine team. And in 8 years, it's not that only the years have lapsed, but he is no longer in Barcelona. And it seems like it's been a long time with the Argentinian team. The scenario changed abruptly in the last couple of years. And we are at a stage in life that is completely different, that we are transferring it to the professional side. Thanks. I forgot the question. Okay, okay, got it. Well, I'm not saying no. It's possible. Sometimes it's difficult because between the medical and technical and soccer aspects, we talk and see the feelings that you have. That you felt well in the last 48 hours prior to the match. He did exactly everything that was required to be able to arrive at a better solution. And finally, whatever happened, happened. So it's always a lot easier with the results that, up front. So if we could have them, well, sometimes we are correct and sometimes we make mistakes. I don't take that away as a possibility at any rate. Then obviously, of course, we understand the situation, but it's very difficult in my case to lead a team. Firstly, thinking about the people, and especially with the amount of matches that we played in such a short amount of time. Sometimes the situations arise in 3 days between matches, and we have to take whatever's there. And we can't just say, buy the ticket and no worries, and the team's there. We understand that situation, certainly. But I do things how my players are doing and trying to make the very best decisions. I know that from the most of the matches, it's because of the responsibility that we have. If we hadn't played the finals with the ICAP, we wouldn't be in this situation. But if he comes in back and play, and that brings a title, then all the better. Thinking about the team and also thinking about the players, because it's not everything just starts and ends in a single match, and especially about tomorrow since it's the finals. Yeah, well, the team will be subject to this issue of waiting for Leo until the very last minute. And with Hector, anything that I say is just, of course, the great relationship that we've always had, and of course, everything I care for him. I like him very much, and what I think about him as a person and as a player. I've said it 1,000 times. For me, he's a crack, a fabulous player, as we say in Spanish. And Sergio says it's great to have him in the league and to face him. And we're going to limit his participation in the game, of course, because we know that everything that he begins will depend very much on the evolution of the game with Houston. I don't know if the defense has to do with changes, or you're talking about any specifics of the internal game changes. Well, the thing is, we modify things, working as frequently and modifying the system. Sometimes there are a couple of center fielders, and that has a lot to do with our own team. Sometimes it has to do with the rivals. It doesn't always have to do with the defensive issues. Sometimes it has to do with how the game is being configured and how we can set it up. And what we're missing is not an issue of solving things that what has to do with defensive solutions. We have a very large problem of lack of time, to work with. What happens then is that the matches happen one after the other, results happen, and we try to find operations through the matches. It's not the most best way to do it. So yeah, we have deficits, certainly deficiencies in certain parts of the game and the field, but there's the amount of matches that we've had to play haven't allowed it. So we try to help that with the videos and talks, and we're out, and of course in the pitch, of course, where we feel that is the best place where we can assimilate the tactical issues. I think that that's how we're doing, Fernando. Match after match, as I've seen it with this. We have three finals coming up starting tomorrow. Tomorrow is a final. The Saturday is another final, and the one in Chicago is another final. And the objectives, we're going to face them in the same manner as they arrive. And now we're taking care of this, but we're trying to do the best thing in Orlando because it was a very important match for us too. especially knowing that out of the games with City and Chicago, they will increase or lower our possibilities for the playoff. It's very difficult when we end up with what the trainer is looking for, the coach is looking for. We leave aside some objectives. I think that the league's objective was the most difficult one, but having arrived to where we have, we're going to continue attempting it. It's clear that tomorrow we're going to certainly want to go for that. Yeah, it has exclusively to do with the finals. Absolutely, the league match of 34 dates, we wouldn't run any type of risk. Of course, it's a final after all, and we're talking about 90 minutes, 120 minutes that separate us from a new title, and it's logical that we should wait whatever we have to wait and that we run the risks that we have to run. If it were any other type of match, I don't think we'd be running that type of risk. Well, I don't think it's about being mysterious, as you said about Inter Miami. No, I say this with knowledge of fact that by virtue of being 2 years in Atlanta, on a weekly basis in every clubs, there are very few reports on injured players or who traveled or who didn't. And over here, it's a very special situation. If Leo didn't have the Inter Miami, we wouldn't be talking about a player that is injured. Sometimes they never ask me about Montes or anybody else. And, this happens. And afterwards, what we imagine, and this forms part of the, well, soccer world in general, we're talking about the best player in soccer player in the world. And I have to let you know something that could modify the structure of the rivals. And of course, and why this disinformation, if I can just keep it to myself. I know that this conspires against the interest of the people to buy the tickets or not, but we have to put things at the level that they should be. And the truth is, what we're looking for is to try to, win the match. The game is by virtue of being better than rivals, but there are little details that can certainly make things to work a little better for us. So we understand the explanation and the desire to know, but we don't have this issue of being mysterious or anything like that. We have a situation that's real, nothing that has to do with no operation. No, no, no. Forget about that. To think about how long the player has to stop, to play another match. And like I said before, if it weren't a final, we wouldn't risk this at all. It's a final, and there's a possibility that we might take that risk. No, I'm not leaving anything aside for the moment. Yeah. Well, in reality, we can't really think of the fact that he wouldn't participate with the rest of the season. We understand that besides that, it's almost a month that separate both matches with Charlotte. It's sure that in the middle we have other matches with the Argentine team. But if we assess the possibility for him to play tomorrow, then we're not thinking at any rate that he's not going to be in the rest of the league games. But there is the possibility, though, that the medical department might say we're running risks for X amount of time. We continue with these risks and decide not to take them. But in principle, as of now, we're not thinking about this scenario outside of what we've just told you.